It is Jazz and Beyond on 702 and Cape Talk with me, Notemba. And of course, it is that moment where we have some great conversation with the leaders of the industry in the arts, in music, in business, and everything that connects this thread of our culture. And today, our guest is one of the key architects of the live music ecosystem. This is especially post 1994. We're going to tackle more his legacy in this conversation rather than just a career recap, because he's been doing this for so many years and he remains a very influential voice in the industry. He's got decades of experience in navigating the intersection between music, between business, and of course, between our South African cultural identity. I don't know if you've guessed who I'm talking about. We're talking about the founder of T Music Man and the visionary behind the Joy of Jazz Festival, which is one of Africa's premier jazz events. Peter Tlati. Brother Peter, how are you?
Okay, and you?
I'm good. What are you thinking as I'm busy describing your role and who you are right now? You know, maybe just when you just reflect on your journey, over the years, is there maybe something that stands out that's a thread, connecting everything you have done? What is it?
What will I say? Quite a number of things.
I'm sure.
But I think the thing that connects all the threads, it's the respect to whatever you're doing for the people that you want to do for. That stands out. You can't change that.
And the respect from you
me.
by you, or the respect you receive?
No, the respect that by me to other people, respecting other people.
Respecting other people. That's been.
I've been a presenter, so in my presentation, you have to respect the creativity and articulation of other people. Yeah.
So respecting the artist you have to deal with.
Yes.
The people behind the scenes.
The managers.
The managers, the people who put money into it, into the projects.
Yes.
that you do.
Yeah, you see, I told you, write a book. You're doing it for me.
No, you are going to be writing this book, and I hope you get to write it for us. But I really invited you because I think you've got an amazing, fascinating story to tell in your journey. Maybe let's start off with, in your childhood, in terms of maybe the kind of environment that you grew up in. In Sharpeville, or
Sharpeville,
you moved there at some point.
No, I was born and bred in Sharpeville.
Okay.
And we moved to Everton in 1960. When the bombs started, the guns started ballowing, my mother took me and my brother and walked from Sharpeville to Everton, where my granny was, to run away from the guns. But when we got to Everton, we found the planes and tanks. So it was
from the fire into the devil's den.
Yeah. But then we stayed in Everton for a very long time. with my grandmother and my grandfather.
Mm.
Mm. That's where then I continued school from there. The school was called Bula Madibo.
Bula
Madibo.
Bula Madibucho.
And then it went to Jabulani.
And what kind of a student were you?
I was a very good runner. I was a
Really?
very bad soccer player.
Okay.
I just remember one time they made me a goalkeeper. And I think the guy scored about 11 goals. And I was fired from there.
Why, where the the goal is too high for you to block
I think so. I was a bad goalkeeper.
Oh,
But my main thing was more cultural. In that, as a result of that, I used to like music. I used to like acting. Yeah. Then, 1964, I think, there was a play that was brought to a college called Wilberforce College,
okay.
but we were still at primary school. So, but then what they did then was that every school, most of the schools, chose two kids each class
Mm-hmm.
to go to the show. You know, the Wilberforce College was part of the American Methodist Episcopal Church. So it was managed by Americans. They poured the money in there.
Mm.
So every boxer or American boxer or any artistic thing that happened, they used to know they wanted it to be taken to Wilberforce College.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was lucky to be one of the young guys who were taken to Wilberforce when Manana, the Just Prophet. You remember Gibson Kent's show?
Yeah. Absolutely. Who doesn't?
Manana, the Just Prophet. I was
Uh,
actually, yeah, Manana, the Just Prophet, because King Kong came after.
yeah.
Because when King Kong went as well, I was one of the kids who went. A little bit of King Kong, not the full orchestra. Came to Wilberforce to meet the students to perform a little short scenes.
Okay.
And I was one of the kids. And that beat me.
You were hooked.
I was hooked.
From then on.
I was hooked. And
So, and what did it inspire you to do? You just told yourself, this is what I want to
this
be
is
part
what
of.
I want to go.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm.
Now, to make it even more stronger was that my father
Mm.
used to like music as well. You know, during those the Manhattan Brothers,
Yes.
you know, those days. And every weekend, when he got his salary,
Did he do Mayo?
he'd buy a record.
Yo.
He'd buy a record.
Mm.
So that's what, besides that, again, the music of the Manhattans, Ira Makeba and all those.
Mm.
The other thing that Everton had, for its people, was that, you know, we were many different tribes in Everton. So Sundays used to be festivities. After church, people used to go to, hey, we're going to Bapedi, doing
Yes.
their
And then the
traditional
yes,
dances,
and then
Mazulu, Kwa, Botswana,
yeah.
Maxhosa. It used to be all those. So
And it's the kind of thing that even Brahu used to talk about as well.
yeah,
That you know, on the Sundays you'd have all these different cultural groups and identities just
yeah.
you know, using that time.
So we would as kids, we used to go Ramapedin today,
Eh.
guys, no Reakwa, Mazulu. So all those things, I think they all had influence
Wow.
besides playing the record, Kak Renfom.
Ne?
Mm.
And then obviously as you grew up, then outside of school, you started getting involved
And then I started.
in the music and entertainment and acting and
Yeah,
can you
right.
can you sing? Did you used to sing at all?
I used to be a very good singer, but my voice went. Somebody stole it.
what are you were
I
alto or
used to sing with a.
bass or soprano?
No, I was a singer. I was a very good singer.
Really?
I was a lead singer for the Hashash Boogies.
Oh yeah.
There was a group called Hashash Boogies.
Okay.
And then I joined the Simples Brothers.
Yes.
Simple Brothers, yeah. So
So you're
that's where
you're
the
just
music.
always just hooked into the music,
I was
and
hooked.
but when did you then start saying, I want to run things now. I want to be the creative person because I've got ideas for this thing.
Mm.
Mm.
What happened was that, we didn't have entertainment that much during those days.
Yeah.
So whatever I saw at Wilberforce before I went, quite funny that after I graduated from Jabulani,
Mm.
I went college to Wilberforce. So whatever I learned there came in, and then I started forming my own little theater groups.
Ah, lovely.
And we used to play at Roman Catholic Church.
Mm.
Bufather, they used to encourage youngsters to do cultural things.
Yeah, the missionaries did play a very big part during those years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's quite funny. I was Anglican.
Okay.
But I
But
spend I spend more time
with the Catholics.
with the Catholics.
Mm.
They developed me actually, because we were lucky in Sebokeng. We had before we got to Sebokeng was Everton.
Mm.
Yeah, we had Father Noonan. He was he came from, Father Noonan was English.
Mm.
He was English, but he came from Scotland.
Mm.
He actually even wrote a book after a long time called "They Are Burning Churches," but that was in response to the things that were happening
During the apartheid regime. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know how far forward it would be when you started, got inspired, or maybe when you saw that, there's a gap, man,
Mm.
and I need to start some tea music, man. What was happening at the time?
Let me jumpstart.
Mm.
We, at some point before that, you were talking about, I'm sure you like to know the business side of it.
Of course.
Before I left the Val, I put together a company called Orange Val Promotions, where I got my former principal at Jabulani, Mr. Prone Tintili, and a friend of mine called Peter Mnonel. We formed the company, opened an office in Vrenaging, and I created something called, what do you call it? You'll excuse me there. But what happened there was that it was a variety of things. Merry-go-rounds, magicians,
Mm.
a guy pulling a truck. those
Okay.
kind of things.
Those kind of activities that
Yeah.
were.
So Orangeval Promotions.
So it was mixing sporty things with, music, arts and
Arts and
dancing
all
and
those,
and
yeah.
and all those things. Okay.
Yeah, it was with Orangeval that we actually brought such artists such as Bo Ra, Papsum Langeni. We brought them to the Val. Quite a lot of artists. And that's where I met...
Libo Brenda,
no,
Libo.
Brenda was
No, no,
not even
not
there.
okay.
Was
My
not
my
even
my
there.
timeline is all so wrong. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, but then Orangeval Promotions, died. I mean, because then there was problems. And I moved over to Johannesburg.
But it was basically your foundation of running the business or in entertainment.
Yes,
Ah.
that was my foundation.
And then you from Val to Johannesburg, and then you thought, I
think the one...
Josie Mahlangeni.
No, you know what brought me to, what took me to Johannesburg
Yeah,
was Doke House.
of course.
I wanted to go to Doke House to join African Music and Drama, AMDA.
AMDA.
Yeah.
Now you wanted to join as an administrator, or
No, as a student.
as a student.
As a student, music
okay.
student,
Okay.
and creative.
In creative arts there.
Yeah. So that's where I started. I was a student of music on the third floor, and
were you playing an instrument, or were you singing? Or
No, I
what
was
were you
singing.
doing? Okay.
I was learning to read music.
Okay.
Yeah. They were teaching the people, Paul Mike Masote.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of people are
Way
products
back.
of that institution.
Yeah, Bontet was Bongele.
Mr. Professor. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they were teaching them. So, but while I was there at the school, then when I was during my spare time, I used to work downstairs. There was an organization called Phoenix Players. Phoenix Players was running productions. It was running like Team Music Man, running shows, live shows, theater productions, and there were jam sessions there. Actually, I started the jam sessions.
Okay.
Yeah, Victor Ntoni.
Libo Victor Ntoni.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. So that's and then the Phoenix Players was managed by a guy called Gideon Ngumalo.
Yes.
But the chairperson was Ian Bernhardt. Ian Bernhardt is the one who was responsible for taking King Kong to England.
England, yeah.
Yeah, he was. I remember him telling me stories about driving Miriam Makeba, speeding to the airport because she was late or something like that. Hey. Yeah. So, and so Gideon asked me to help him put posters for shows. I did that over the weekend. And during my time there, then there was Sam Williams. Sam Williams was a playwright. He got me into a play called The Wisdom because I could dance.
Kahle wena.
So-
Tara.
So I was dancing in The Wisdom, You know, with people like, we used to be with people like Boy Eugene Matonsela was one of South Africa's finest pianists.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, jumping on, the Miss Soweto, you know Miss Soweto,
Yeah.
when it started, it was run by,
That was in the 70s, ne?
it wasn't, no,
In the 80s.
in the 80s.
In the 80s.
Yeah. Right. So the promoter was the poet, Brother Sidney Pambler.
Oh, Sydney Spamler, yes.
Yeah. He was promoting Miss Soweto, Brother Sidney then. It was tough.
Multitasking.
Yeah.
You have to do what works.
Yeah. So I used to help him as
Okay.
well. Yeah. But then time moved so fast, and then if I have to tell stories of Doke House, I have to write a book.
I think Doke House is a story on its own.
It's a story on its own, yeah.
I think so.
Because that's where I then, just before I left the Val, I had met Brahu's father. He was a welfare officer in the area. You know, because of seeing me doing all these little things in the township.
Yeah.
And he told me, you know, I've got a son who's in America. Who's in America? Who's in London?
At the time.
He's in America then, yeah. I want you to talk to him. I'll give you his number. And I'll tell him to call you as well.
Hey, tell us, the dialing one.
That's where we started talking with
Brahu.
Brahu.
And your first conversation was about what?
It was about, hey, you know, Brahu, what are you guys doing there? Are you playing jazz? Or are you playing music?
And what was your answer?
No, I said, yes, we're playing everything.
Ne.
We would talk and talk and talk. And when I got to Doke House, then the talks continued. And I used to take messages to his
dad. Okay.
The same with Miriam Makeba. We started knowing each other over the phone. Yeah, so
you were sort of the conduit between some of the South Africans who were overseas and obviously building that relationship.
Yeah, I built that.
That culminated in all sorts of projects and I guess and events as well. So even when they came back, were you the go-to guy?
Yeah. We were very close friends.
Brapita, so what's happening here? We're back.
We're here.
Tell us what's happening so we can do our thing.
Yeah. That's how it was. But then before then, you wanted it. Before they came here, we met with Ian, put together a company with Peter Davidson, Future Marketing. And the first project for Future Marketing was Fort Choirs competition.
Oh,
you remember?
I think I remember those.
Yeah.
Yes,
you should remember the Fort Choirs.
Yeah, the Fort Choirs competition.
Yeah,
that was very popular.
And then we did another project called the Disco Desk competitions.
Okay.
With a very famous wine brand.
Okay. Which?
Tom West.
Or Tom Harvest.
Oh, Tom Harvest.
Well, we can talk about it. It's no longer in production.
It's gone, yeah. Yeah, you remember, yeah. We even took Godfrey Walker to, he won the world championship.
The dancing.
the dancing.
The
yeah.
dancing competition.
Mm.
Yeah. But you also got into managing of artists as well.
Oh, Godfrey.
When
Yeah, I did.
you got into managing of artists, you
So
even
that's
you also worked for a record label.
that's a movement that
The-
I'm coming.
Okay.
To.
Mm.
You wanted us to go there. So feature marketing.
Mm.
Linda, the daughter of Ian Bernard. Linda is in London now, but
Mm.
we're still friends. Actually, we stayed like sisters because I ended up staying with Ian at his house.
Wow.
Yeah, this little black boy with Jewish family, but there was their child.
Ne?
And then
Before you continue, let me tell you something. I am absolutely box smacked and in awe of your memory.
well, I never thought I would be, but
And also just how you remember the names of the people.
Yeah,
I'm so terrible at names.
I
It's only when I see your face. Yeah, I
you
remember.
yeah.
Wow.
Okay, then
That's
let me
incredible,
just
though.
speed this up. But it's such a long thing, so
Yeah,
So-
I know you because you're going to write a book. So some of these
Yeah, so-
details will go into the book.
so I just want to
Mm.
go to, and then in the record industry, I was saying Linda had an artist management company,
Okay.
Linda Bernard,
Mm.
and in that artist management company, one of the groups that she was managing was the bassist, Sipho Kumet.
Also Kumete from
And,
KZN. Mm.
Yeah, and the pianist, what's his name?
Now, because I talked about your your memory, now you're starting. which one? From was KZN
From Devon.
from Devon? Mkize? No, Temba Mkize. No.
Lems.
Sipo, do you remember? Oh,
Selig,
Begum
yeah.
Selig. Okay.
Begum Selig.
Okay.
Yeah, their band, what is it called?
Sakile.
Wow.
Yes.
So, and I used to work with her as well to help.
Okay.
Yeah. So then I because of the connection, and then I started working with the first record company, the Black Record Company. Babsili Brakar, Black Artist Management.
Okay.
Which recorded their first recording was not their own songs, but their first recording was Jonathan Butler.
Wow.
Jonathan Butler.
Jonathan Butler.
Yeah, Seventh Avenue.
Seventh
I
Avenue.
promoted that, yeah.
Are you kidding me?
So from there, I was actually promoting records because of the disco thing and all.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure I don't remember how I got into doing that,
but I mean,
during my days promoting that,
mm,
I was stolen by RPM Records from Bobo Brababs.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay.
Braka was very disappointed, but he used to like me very much.
Ne?
Brakar.
So I can imagine then that with you dabbing into all these different jobs and from promotion to organizing gigs to artists, dealing with artists, and also you just loving the singing and all these were also a way that made for how even when you started T Music Man, you understood every element of
I,
the business, you know.
yeah, that's it. And then, okay, let me continue where you left off.
Yeah.
I worked for RPM for a long time
Mm.
until I was headhunted by Mike Fuller Music.
Okay. Now that's where these other artists that
They
we
were,
we know in the
mm,
80s and 90s
but
now.
Gallo liked it so much because RPM became Gallo's company,
Company.
Hope Street.
Mm.
And the boss, the Gallo boss, not Peter Gallo, but Doug Band. Doug Band was the chairman of Gallo Music.
Mm.
When he heard that I was going to Mike, he offered me shares in what we call now Mnet.
DSTV.
DSTV, yeah. He offered me 1,000 shares and said, don't go, I'll add more.
And
I
uh,
moved, as a youngster with wanting to move up.
man, you know you'd be swimming in millions now.
I would be. So I took that 1,000 and still went to Mike Fuller.
Okay.
Yeah. At RPM Records, that where I got groups like Amatota Sewesili.
Mm.
That's where we met with Ray Piri. But Ray Piri was signed to Gallo with Stimela. But he was my producer at RPM.
At RPM. Mm.
Yeah. And he was something else. Ray.
I can imagine.
Ray, a young girl came to me one time to want to record. And you know who it was? It was Yvonne Chaka Chaka. And I called Ray and said, Ray, please take this girl to the studio.
Mm.
And then Ray came the next day and said, no, she can't sing. I said, don't talk rubbish. And the next thing we know, Phil Hollis had taken her and did DJ last night. They did something. It went big. I said, Ray, you see, I told you, I know when I see something.
So you also spotted talent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the one guy, when we were still at RPM, was Sizwe Zako.
Yes.
We became friends.
Mm.
And we got Rebecca from the talent show.
Yes.
You remember
The
Shell
Road to Fame, yes.
Well, I was one of the creators and the judge. I used to be the judge. And Rebecca became one of them. And then Caesar said, Masani Lingard, but not with your record company. Ourselves, me and you. And that's how we did it.
Wow.
We signed Rebecca with Mike Fuller Music. But then Mike Fuller, I didn't take long. It's where we met Bomisi Pakela.
Yes.
And I did my best.
The best there.
But then my boss at RPM moved to EMI Records. And he headhunted me from Mike Fuller and said, hey, you're not supposed to be there. Come over. I left the BMW there
and you went
to
EMI.
To CCP, to head CCP. That's where CCP, where I started. Who ran away was Ken Haycock. You remember Ken Haycock? Ken Haycock left CCP in a mess and went to start his own company.
Yeah.
And when I got to EMI, when Barry Guy called me to CCP, it was empty. The artists were gone with this guy. But I came in, that's where I brought Sanko Mota, you know, a lot of artists.
A lot
came.
of artists.
Yeah.
So, so a lot. There are many artists who really owe you gratitude in terms of not only supporting them, but also just supporting them and making sure we get to hear and see them perform.
Mm.
Yeah,
But
I'm so.
I must say,
Mm,
you know, when I was at RPM, one of the things that really moved me more up was the promotion of labels such as Motown, the reggae label. What was it, by the way? You remember? Island Records.
Island
I
Records.
carried, you remember, that's why I was coming
Yes.
to Bob
Okay.
to promote Motown.
Yes,
Lionel
because
Rich.
you used to come to Radio Bob
Yeah.
and promote you know all your artists there on
That's why
the
we've
station as well. Yes.
We've got a beautiful photo with Jane where I was given an award by Bra Mtibi.
Yes, at Radio Bob.
Yeah, but I must say that was the beginning of things.
Of things.
Yeah.
And I know the journey cannot be shortened, but
Yeah, no, I'm shortening it.
but we need to shorten it because I wish we had 3 hours here, but we
Mhm.
don't. Because I want us, because for what's important for me is because you created this amazing brand and legacy, which is Joy of Jazz, which didn't start as Joy of Jazz, but I also just want to understand the people who were involved and how you even then focused on jazz at the time, because you were now Team Music Man as a company, and you were already doing other concerts and festivals. As to how did you then turn into focusing on jazz and creating this now worldwide festival that's recognized around the world?
Okay, Joy of Jazz started with me, with Brayu. Brayu was appointed CEO, deputy CEO at the State Theatre.
Mm-hmm.
And by that time we were working together. We had already taught a lot of places together.
And this is when he came back from
when he had already come
back.
Yeah.
And this was 90. I mean,
you can read back 27 years.
27. And 97, 96, right?
Yeah, around 96.
Yeah, 96, yeah.
So what happened was he got appointed there. By that time, I had already formed a Team Music Man. After I left EMI CCP,
Sure.
we formed Team Music Man. It had to be Team Music Man because, can you
For
imagine?
Tladi.
At that time, Tladi would not be attracting any sponsor.
I hear you. I hear you.
Where it is,
So you were already wizened up to what works.
What works around the area.
Around what you name things.
But another thing that made me wise up was that during my time at RPM Records, I studied marketing with an executive college, which was based in Braamfontein. I studied marketing and an executive marketing courses. When I got to EMI, I studied another diploma with University of Pretoria.
Okay. And that counts a lot.
Counts a lot.
A lot in what you do.
Yeah, I had to do that because when you got into the record company, they started speaking a language which I was not speaking in the township.
Sure.
In marketing, the 4 Ps, the what? Hey, I said, I went to school, but the nice thing was that my boss then realized in meetings that no, this guy used to be quiet, but these days he engages
Mm.
and brilliantly. And then he called me to his office. Are you studying something, Peter? So I told him, yes, I'm studying
Marketing.
with marketing. And then he said, no, from today, you don't pay for those. The company will pay for all your schooling.
Oh, fantastic.
That was
That was okay.
Catapulted to.
So you and Brahu then started. You
And then
just quickly how you both then started this thing.
Nobra Hugh said to me,
Mm.
hey, come, I want black people to walk through the doors of the State Theatre because it's all white here, Peter.
Yeah.
So I went and then I started doing festivals, music festivals.
Mm.
And the people started coming in. You remember Rebecca live at the State Theatre,
Yeah.
Don Laka live,
Mm.
Brenda Fuzzy live at the State Theatre, all of. And then I sat down. I sat down and said, hey, but what's the use? You keep doing shows, it shows I'll run out of artists.
Mm.
So what helped me, what came to my mind was the tour that we took with Brahu, New Orleans Jazz Festival.
Mm-hmm.
New Orleans Festival has got different stages. But they've got many stages, 14.
14 stages.
New Orleans has got 14 stages, yeah.
And then do they have full capacity at those
Oh,
stages?
yeah, huge. It's the world there. That's where I wanted Joy of Jazz to be.
So we're still aiming for 14. We only have how many now? We've
25.
we've got 4 now. We're going to go to 14 at some point. Stages. Joy of Jazz.
No, well, the New Orleans is done at a race course. There's a race course, and they create tents within that, and those are venues. And gospel.
So it's different types of music.
Traditional American music, jazz, fusion jazz, You've got all the stages there.
Ne?
So that triggered my mind, and then I started what I called the Pretoria Jazz Festival. Then that's what I called it. No, before Moretile. Moretile was already running.
Yeah, Moretile was already running.
Running, yeah.
Okay.
Then we started this where I said to Brahu, we do a jazz festival here for the whole week. Brahu, hey, what but for Muhammad to be jazz. So, but I insisted, and then I said, let's start with the rendezvous stage. The rendezvous stage, you remember the one it takes 200 people, 250. We did it for a whole week, and it was full the whole week. The following year, we went into the drama stage. It got full as well.
Yeah.
And then eventually I was in the main stage. That's where we met Standard Bank in 1990s.
In 97 to join in, and they saw
Yeah.
they saw the value of what you're doing.
Yeah, they were impressed because at the State Theatre, in the foyer, I created stalls, right down where clubs and taverns came and
set
marketed
up
themselves.
and marketed themselves there.
And Mandy van der Spey saw all that. And then downstairs, a band was playing, welcoming people in.
Mm.
You know,
Which
and
is-
that's where Mandy met me and said, you know, we've got some money left from Grahamstown, we'd like to sponsor.
Mm.
That's how it started.
But did you even think that you will create an event that will last this long? And maybe for some people who think Naomi, I can do this thing. Can you just tell us what it takes?
It takes
Because a lot of people think they see what happens, and they think I can also do this thing.
you push to the limit. It's not easy.
Just quickly, what it takes, and even though I love that you have also just handed over and trained others to run things where you're not doing everything yourself. That
What You remember I said to you,
Mm.
honesty is the ultimate success.
the
success
respect.
tool.
Mm.
I remember I said to you,
Yeah,
yeah. So if you think this is easy, it's not.
it's not.
Mm.
It
It's
takes
not
a lot.
easy.
The relationships that you form, not only with the artists, because now it started expanding to include international artists, and from not only from the continent but from Europe and also
I
from
didn't start
from the
with
US.
international artists. We started with local artists.
Yes, I'm saying as it grew, then
Yeah,
you start
and then it grew.
and you started then
Because of what happened was that the travels around the world
Mm.
helped me, thanks to Brayu as well
and his connections.
and his connection.
Yeah.
And I made my own connection.
Yes.
That's the reason
Over
why
time.
we had Keiko Matsui coming.
Mm.
And that's the reason Brayu said, I taught you America. And then I said, I taught you Japan. We didn't know Japan, but we ended up touring Japan, eight cities in Japan.
Yeah.
With Brayu and
Yes,
Keiko.
because you were on when he was touring, you were managing him at the time.
Yeah.
And that in itself also created the relationships and the connections that helped you in
So that's how.
that's how it is. And in that kind of work though, where you are traveling the world or where you are busy with setting up events and festivals and negotiating with a lot of the time takes you away from home. How important has family's understanding and support been?
Well, I must say the family support was great because, literally Jane had to bring the little kids, the three children that we have, alone most of the time.
Most of the time.
I remember one time we were touring the States. I had gone away for, it was about 12 months. And
A whole year. Just say a year. Don't say about 12 months. It sounds better when you say 12 months.
yeah, and then my older child was a little bit out of order. But then I had my own father, Brayu, and he said, bring him here.
Yeah.
Let him come to America. We'll straighten up here.
Okay.
Brayu was like that. And we flew him, we flew my son, Archie, to America.
To America.
Help Jane with.
Yeah, release her, from the strain and stress and pressure of the
Support
kids.
for family is very important.
Absolutely.
That's why if you see the people who are working with me in Joy of Jazz, I would say they are all my children because
Yeah.
let's start with the one in the back.
That one there, sitting over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew his father, Bramos,
Mm.
and then let's start with Manto. Was my sister-in-law who was very naughty. I was like his father.
She was naughty.
Oh, Manto.
I think she still is.
But she was too clever. She was vibey.
Mm.
Hey, I used to stop her. Hey. But she was very clever. And then Pula Maskela, who is
Maskela's daughter.
production boss now. Pula was giving Brayu a tough time. So actually we changed with Brayu because he helped me with Archie and I helped him with Pula. Pula was so naughty. He said, no, I'm going to school, and she would go, she would find her. And then one day I found her in the house saying she's reading. And I said, Pula, tomorrow you go to Team Music Man and report for duty. You're going to be the receptionist. And
Wow.
she came. And Brayu said, hey, only magic, you man. And Pula worked up until she was the PR manager
Fantastic.
at the company.
Wow.
And now you see she's got her own thing.
And
The
it's
same thing with Sipo.
yeah.
I got her from CCP where I left him.
Yeah.
I said, I came to Bula Music. Bula Music, then Team Music.
And you surrounded yourself with obviously people who saw your work ethic and your understanding of the business, and we're learning from it.
Yeah.
And that's why you can trust them.
Yeah.
Because they have seen they've seen the journey.
The same thing with Helga.
With Helga as well, who does the
Helga was my
PR.
PRO as well.
You see, all
In
these
the
people.
days when my daughter Moning was a PR as well.
Was a PR as well.
But she's doing masters now. She's
Fantastic.
a big girl.
When you look at the memories, when you look back, Jay, look, if I ask you, you'd probably have a lot of stories to tell, which are unforgettable incidents. Because I'm sure in the years there have been incidents where there have been challenges, maybe technical ones. There could have been artists who have been the most difficult. Maybe some you had to, without me directing you, which artist was the most difficult, who almost got you into trouble?
Brayu Maseke.
Brayu.
Yeah. You see this new club that is there?
Yeah, Hughes.
We started one company started one called Hughes. And near, it was not, Brampton. Brampton, yeah.
Yeah.
Brampton. And when Brayu was supposed to play, we said, where's you? He was not there. He was sleeping.
Wow.
When he was supposed to be playing.
At that time.
At that time, yeah. But that was you. That's why.
What's the most heartwarming feedback you've heard from artists in terms of how they are treated just in the whole process of being part of Joy of Jazz?
One of the things that I learned with my travels was to see how the other people treat people. The old style of us having artists changing in their kumbis, in their cars.
Yeah, I remember those days.
I stopped that. I made sure that artists have got proper things,
facilities
and
and conditions for them to be able to express their art.
Mm.
When a Joy of Jazz lineup is announced,
Mm.
wh- what do you hope for in terms of response? Because over the years, you've had varied responses. Some will say, "I know where are the local artists? Where it's full of international." And then when
But
it's 90% local artists,
where is the
where are the
international?
international ones? What do you hope for? And I'm sure over the years you've managed to strike a balance,
Mm.
and I think the balance is also based on where people are at that time,
Mm.
because people have changed in terms of taste and appreciation and understanding.
Yeah, that's that. The thing is, with us, it's a very very difficult thing because
Mm,
times move. Times, like you're saying, time moves
mm,
and people changes and people grow up and
yep,
people die.
yeah. And then the
So,
young ones are also coming
you
into the
see, that's what I'm
space.
saying. People
Mm,
grow up,
mm,
mm, and then come with their own different mentalities and all.
yeah.
So
How do you know? This lineup. This one is the one.
I know because you talk to. That is what Mantua and the group and SIPO are doing.
Mm,
Talk to relevant people in the industry
yeah,
with different mindsets,
yeah.
and then I've got it. And then you tell them, not really the whole thing,
The whole thing.
you tell them, and then you've got it.
You're now
We are in a difficult situation where things completely change all the time.
yeah, true.
Yeah,
And things are quick now, and also people have short attention spans now. Abananako,
yeah. You'll never find a TV in the studio.
Yeah, now
Our studios before.
we are watched 24/7 in here. If you could start over, what would you change?
I mean, change from what I used to do.
No, not what you used to do.
What's
Just
happening
in
today?
in how things have turned out. Would you change anything, or the everything that happened because it needed to happen for you to be here?
I think everything happened because it needed to be there.
Mm,
You have to move because you are a festival. You don't have to be on your own. You move with the world,
yeah.
the business, artistic side, the creative side.
Mm,
You move along with them. You can't stop, and you can't just everything take it back, except the clothing. It's quite fun. The clothing has changed.
mm. Yeah, we see a lot of things we never used to see.
We see a lot of things.
In terms of African music, because I think the Joy of Jazz has also created a platform for exposure,
Mm.
not only us being exposed to other African musicians, but also South Africans to be exposed to the rest of the world. Would you like your name to be part of that legacy, that you played a role in making that happen?
I think
Well,
did
I'm telling you then,
uh,
and but because I'm trying to get at how intentional you were
mm,
in making sure that we tap into the continent
mm.
and not think we're living on an island here. Yeah.
Is that a question or a statement?
Both. Was it intentional?
Jim,
Was it intentional for you?
it was
Mm.
intentional to be part of this artistic community,
Mm.
and to help to develop it. And I think I succeeded somehow.
I really want to agree with that,
Mm.
and also just the importance of passing on to the next generation, not only musically but skills as well. Because I know now you're sitting as chairman of Team Music Man. You just point fingers and Bosipho
I
and
wish I was.
Libo Mantwa do
I
the
wish I
do
was.
the running around. But
Timber, you're wrong there.
no, I know I'm wrong.
Chairmans don't point fingers.
What do they do?
They suggest.
They suggest. Okay.
Mm.
Because my question was going to be, what role do you play now?
Mm?
My question was coming to that. What role do you play now? Because you are no longer in the front, you know.
I'm a library to the people that are running the show now. So they keep coming to open up the data to see that what can we do here using the old experience.
Because you experience.
That's why I'm saying I'm the library.
You're the library.
Yeah.
But with these kind of work that people want to take advantage of their personal relationships with you and want to bypass the others and to say, no, I know Brapita, I'm going to talk to him directly. What do you say?
I always point them to the right people.
Yeah.
I get a lot of emails like those.
Ne?
And then I do answer them to say, I've passed on your message to the relevant people.
And it comes with,
if it's technical, it's Sipho. If it's cultural, it's Mantwa. If it's something else, it's Helga. But everything goes to these two. Then they distribute it further.
There's quite a number of people who have laid claim to being part of the start of Joy of Jazz. Have you heard any of these?
I've heard a lot of people over the time, over the years.
Yeah. And what's your response to that?
To that, most of them, I honor them because they were there.
So when they say they started, probably in different roles, maybe
mostly musicians and others. And this year, I'm happy to say one of the musicians who was with me when we started, Mekwai Mukobata, is still there.
He's still there.
I was hoping he's coming back from America.
Yeah, no,
that's why he wasn't there.
He's been, he's celebrating.
Where was there?
He's celebrating South African music for us there in America, which is fantastic.
You asked me about how do I handle the people who cry foul about international and then local. We, since we started, I'm saying we because I never worked alone.
Sure.
We started, and then it was that 70% of our lineup will always remain South African and 30% from other countries.
Yeah.
The reason being that South African have to learn other cultures, which is an idea I took, when I was in a festival called Bath Festival in England. Bath Festival was started after the Second World War because people were so depressed there and all, and the producer decided, the minister of that place started a festival because American musicians were quite a number of soldiers. So they started that's how they started the festival. And I said to them, we were there with Brayu, and I said, but how do you manage a festival so huge? And then you play them in the parks. for free. And they said, of course, that's our duty, to
Sure.
bring cultures to the people of this place so that they know what other countries
What
are
other
doing.
countries are.
That was the idea. This 30% is to bring other cultures and that's a way to
To
create more space for South Africans everywhere.
everywhere
And
else.
that just happened.
I saw after this year's lineup was announced. I saw a tweet of someone saying, "Hey, I think I must start listening to jazz. I've seen this lineup. I see everybody's excited about it, and the only person I know there is Judith Supum." I'm
Yeah, you must start learning.
exactly. What my last question?
Mm.
I hope. Uh, what still excites you about this industry, and what disappoints you about it? Maybe let's start with the disappointment. What disappoints you about the direction of the industry, and what still excites you about it?
I think I have no disappointment in terms
Okay.
because the development is going accordingly. And I'm excited because technology has come in creatively to bolster our artistic values.
Mm. So
Yes, I can watch a show on my phone,
yeah,
even if I'm sick on the bed, and get excited.
and get
Yeah.
excited. Yeah.
And then you can press the comment. So we never used to do that in my
True,
time.
and respond immediately into.
Immediately, yeah.
Mm. So when are
You
you?
know, but
Mm.
that I think, the Americans have been far. You remember an artist called what's her name? She had a show at the Royal Festival Hall way back, man. I think it was the early 90s. I remember the name.
You're casting the net very wide. I'm not sure. I'm not sure where.
And
Mm.
what she did, she invited only very invited people, about 3,000 people. But she was watched by 5 million people worldwide. Come, man.
The name will come. The name will come.
Yeah.
Yeah, because now
At
that's
that time.
that possibility now exists. You know,
Yeah, it
that
exists.
you may have an audience of 500, but
Mhm.
the performance will eventually be watched by.
Okay, you were asking me what disappoints me.
Mm.
You know what disappoints me? One of the things when we did festivals around the country as Team Music Men was to help create unique sounds for the different provinces. You know, in America, you had Motown sounds.
Yes.
Motown. You had Atlantic sounds.
Yes, you have the New Orleans sound. You've got the New York.
New,
got it.
New Orleans is very unique.
Yes, and
But
also
South Africa, we didn't.
Mm.
Okay, it's coming, but it's coming very slow because now you have a name for the sound of Limpopo. You have a name for the sound from KwaZulu-Natal. But I don't know the sound from Gauteng. Is it
Gauteng.
Amapiano? Amapiano, is it Gauteng?
I don't know. There's a lot of merging that goes on, but
Yeah.
you know, with jazz, you can. You know,
can,
you know the Eastern Cape kind of sound, the Western Cape kind of jazz.
And then it came.
Jazz from Pretoria is different from same with KZN.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah.
But that's one of the things that we have to develop.
Those
Not
unique
sounds, but also the industry within
those
the different provinces. That's always been my dream. But
Your dream, yeah, and you can still, pursue that dream. Besides writing the book, you are going to write that book, ne?
books, not one.
Books. Out of your favorite, music to listen to,
Mm,
who would you list?
you know,
Okay, Brahio is definitely there.
And-
Abdullah is definitely there.
on the modern side, I like Dave Coase,
Dave Coase, okay.
more modern.
Okay.
Yeah. Dave Coase, the Crusaders, the Jazz Crusaders.
Yes.
Aye. Those
Keep
are
go
my
keep going.
Yeah.
And who else?
The Crusaders. And Peter. What was the artist we brought here? Peter.
Which Peter?
Joe Sample.
Sipo, do you remember which Peter? Peter
White.
White.
Yeah.
Okay. Peter White, or the British guitarist.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
British, fantastic musician.
Yeah.
Yeah, a fantastic musician.
Who would you wished you had brought but never got the opportunity? Because now I'm seeing there all the Masalises who have been here, and I'm like, who's still
B.B. King.
BB King?
And he told me before he died that Peter, because Brahu took me to his studio.
Yeah.
We went to his studio, he was recording. And Brahu said, hey, here's a promoter from South Africa. He's my manager. And he said to me, hello, Peter, you have to bring me to South Africa before I die.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he died before I could do that.
And then just thinking about those who are still living now. Who's
Herbie Hancock.
who's a target?
The target was Herbie Hancock. But I don't know if he
Please.
still travels.
Listen, he must travel.
Herbie Hancock.
He must travel. We need to see this man here.
Yeah.
We need to see him here.
I will ask Manto and Sipo.
And Sipo to do it.
Mm.
Peter, thank you so much for sharing your time with us on Jazz and Beyond here on 702 and Cape Talk. And we just want to honor and thank you and celebrate you for
Thank you very much.
what you have done for the arts in this country, and with Joy of Jazz and everything else that you've done. And also thank you for passing on your knowledge, your wisdom, and your talent to others to carry this forward.
Come for the jazz and stay for the good times
On Jazz and Beyond with Notemba Madumo.
on 702 and Cape Talk.